Well, good afternoon. Tony Virtue speaking, Virtue & Partners with our regular monthly update. Last few weeks dominated by this coronavirus, and look, at this stage markets have been fairly sanguine about the whole thing. So look, we'll watch this carefully. Australia's largest export is to China. I put in my notes there that the previous major virus was the SARS one back in 2003. And at that stage it was 8% of our exports, now we're up to 34%. So look, this is not a minor matter. Government has downgraded our GDP by 50 basis points to take this into consideration. But at this stage, look, the quarantine certainly outside of China seems to be holding. And let's just hope we get an antidote quickly and that common sense prevails. It's obviously much better to be too conservative rather than taking risks at this stage. To the clients up in Asia, look, cheerio to you all. I will be up there soon enough, just as soon as this settles down. Those of you from London originally would know that viruses are a fact of life. The bubonic plague, the Great Plague of London back in 1550. So these things do happen from time to time. It seems to be just a fact of nature. It's a reality. So, you know, we deal with that and we move forward. Particularly on the investing side, we're always dealing with circumstances that are happening and we just take that in our stride. Markets, in fact, have been very, very positive. So they're much more concerned about earnings than they were about the circumstance in China. And maybe counterintuitively, the US market hit an all-time high overnight. In Australia, we're now well into our interims, and CBA's numbers were very good, as was CSL. I can remember buying CSL at $4.50. Okay, it might have been 15, 20 years ago, and now $330. So it does show if you can buy good companies and hang on to them and not lose your nerve, you can get good returns over time there. That said, with both the Australian and the US market at all-time highs, we need to be ready for a correction. I don't think we chase shadows here. At the moment, probably the biggest economic news is the US presidential election. Trump won't be too happy with Jerome Powell if they lift interest rates at this stage. So it's certainly in his interest to have a real powering economy, and that kind of drags everyone along at the same time. So let's not chase shadows, but there's every prospect that from time to time markets will re-rate down 5–10%, and that should be a buying opportunity rather than sort of running for the hills. Outside of that, markets seem to be fairly steady here in Australia. The dividend yields coming through from the interims remain reasonably solid, and I would say it's very much steady as she goes. So let's watch this China situation carefully. Every day the data keeps adjusting. You can see from my graph below all the previous problems with the SARS, etc., and how markets reacted. So it is only a relatively small part of a bigger picture. In the property market space, you can see Sydney and Melbourne growing very rapidly at the moment. Auction rates up at 80%. Really a function of loosening of financing requirements. We're getting mortgages through now. We were struggling through 6–12 months ago. Interest rates at all-time lows. We're doing our loans in the 3% at the moment. Now, what that effectively means is that you can pick up positively geared properties in the inner city, see the changing demographics of the downsizers wanting to have an easy life, living closer to amenities in town. So pretty good opportunities there. If you've got equity in your home, if you've got solid jobs, this is a good opportunity to just leverage up a little bit and just get behind the natural wind at the moment and pick up some growth. I think this will continue for some time. Very, very difficult to slow down the growth of the property market without lifting interest rates, and that would have a debilitating effect on lots of other market conditions. So I don't think they'll be doing that anytime soon. So I think that's it for this month. I look forward to updating you next month as things evolve. As always, there's a lot more data on the website, so please feel free to look at that. We're certainly open for new business, for friends and whatever, so we look forward to seeing you soon. Tony Virtue, when experience pays.